Hello, my emetophobics. Who's ready for some fun, light-hearted storytelling? No one? Alright. Before we get into what happened during last episode's freeze-up, there's a particular moment that I completely forgot to mention. I could have left this out, but it's something I want to remember, and I guess I want to show that when you have mental health issues, you do not get a day off. My birthday. Yep. Unfortunately, you don't get a day off because it's your birthday. Everything doesn't just stop so you can enjoy yourself. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. So, let me take you back to right after I'd gotten back from America. I'd had 2 weeks of terror in the USA, including meltdowns to and from the country, followed by a super meltdown in the street 2 days after. And then, a couple of days after that, my birthday arrived. I was 25. Clearly, my brain was not in a good state and my eating was incredibly low. However, I was determined to have a good day and not to let my brain get in the way of it. I'd set it up so that I'd chill at home with my boyfriend during the morning, and then in the afternoon, my family would join us for a picnic. The picnic was 5 minutes away from the flat, my safe place. I'd be with the people who made me feel the safest, nature all around us, and I'd be able to lay on the grass if things got too overwhelming. Being around nature, I've always found, makes me incredibly happy and peaceful, and laying on the floor in particular is great for chilling out anxiety. Would really recommend. It was the most low maintenance, least anxiety inducing day I could have possibly come up with. Right? Right. Oh, but my brain did not care. It didn't give even one fudge. Not one. That day is actually a little hazy now, but here's what I remember of it. In the morning, the boyfriend had made me a full fry-up breakfast, which was very sweet and something I'd usually love, but I could barely eat a thing. It brought on too much anxiety, and I was trying to keep that as low as possible. I remember being just so incredibly nervous for that afternoon. I made sure to listen to my hypnosis in preparation, clinging onto the hope that it might help. My family arrived later, and we went to the picnic spot. They had brought a fantastic spread with champagne and all of my favourite foods. We were in a beautiful spot right next to a small river, and the sun was warm and shining. The most perfect day, and I wanted desperately to enjoy it. So badly. Normal me would have been the happiest she'd ever been, but it's incredibly difficult to enjoy something when insane anxiety and fear are continually ripping through your head. I was also terrified of having another uncontrollable outburst in front of my family, not only because it was utterly terrifying to experience, but because it wasn't a nice thing for my family to witness. And in addition, I would draw attention to myself. I could feel the panic attack there, waiting to happen, and if I let go of what little control I had over my anxiety, I would definitely explode. So as I was trying to enjoy myself, I was also trying to control the imminent panic attack threatening to explode as my anxiety steadily rose higher and higher. I could barely eat any of the lovely food, and I tried lying down on the grass to calm myself, but it wasn't helping. The screaming in my head was too strong. I think I lasted about maybe 2 or 3 hours, and as the panic was beginning to peak, I said I had to go back to the flat. My family had no problem with that and began to pack up, but it wasn't fast enough. My head was on the cusp of exploding, nasty things screaming through my brain. I remember my boyfriend trying to keep me calm, and I was hyperventilating and scratching at him as he held me. My body was freezing up with panic, so he helped me put on my jacket, as I couldn't. Luckily, we all made it back to the flat before I could have a complete meltdown, and it took me a while, but I did eventually calm down. I did manage to properly eat something too, but only after everyone had left, and I was able to watch something to take my mind off the bad thoughts. After that day, I got a call from my dad, and he said that they'd all had a long talk on the way back from the picnic. He said that seeing me in that state, even on my birthday, it really hit home with them how much I was being affected by this mental illness, and that I couldn't do anything about it. He said sorry if he hadn't been so supportive in the past, but that he understood now how much distress it was bringing me, and that if he could do anything to help, he would. Right, sorry for the tangent. Back to the freeze up on the street. As I waited and tried to distract myself with YouTube clips, the anxiety came in waves. It took about an hour, but eventually I managed to calm down enough to get to my feet. My anxiety was still super high, but I was able to move, and that was the main thing. I had gotten myself out of the freeze up. I was so completely out of it from experiencing so much anxiety up to that point, and my brain being beaten about, that I felt like I was in a dream as I slowly made my way to the taxi rank. I got in the first taxi I came to, and amazingly, I had exactly the right amount of change for the journey in my purse. I made it home. I am just astonished to report this, but I managed to get myself home by myself. It is possible. Do you hear that, brain? Huh? I beat you and I can do it again. Come at me. After that day, if you can believe it, things got even worse. Just like after that time on the bench, things hit rock bottom, and I reverted to my worst possible state. It felt like I had gone back in time, before therapy, before I got better, right back to 2 years ago. I couldn't leave the house, eating became impossible, as did drinking. I could barely do either, as doing so caused insane anxiety, and my weight, once again, plummeted. It was at this time that I called my parents. I told them everything. I told them that I couldn't work anymore, eat or drink, and that I had gone back to rock bottom. They were incredibly supportive and immediately went into crisis mode. They said I should come back home where I could get myself better and they could take care of me. So I did. My dad came to pick me up, and although the journey was hellish and I thought I actually might be sick a good couple of times, we made it back. It was such a relief to be somewhere where I knew I was completely safe. I didn't have to stress about being at work, I didn't have to stress about going outside. I could just hole up in my bedroom and work on getting myself better. The day after I got back, my mum immediately booked me an appointment with my GP to see if they could help. I was at my worst possible point, and that meant the only thing I could do was lay on my bed and watch cartoons. Nothing else. So, going outside, going in the car, going to the doctors, being around people, being out of my safe zone, it was terrifying. Before we were supposed to leave the doctors, I broke down, crying and panicking because I was so terrified of leaving the house. We did manage to get there eventually, and I went into the doctor's office, holding my mum's hand. My brain was screaming, distressing memories slamming into me again and again. The doctor was asking questions and I was hyperventilating, shaking, frozen, desperately trying to get words out of my mouth through gritted teeth and frozen lips, trying to explain to her what was going on. At one point, a particularly horrible image flashed in my brain and I compulsively slammed my fist down on the desk. I quickly hissed an apology and said I couldn't help it. I remember glancing at my mum at one point, and she had tears in her eyes. I hadn't really thought much at that moment, but it must have been distressing for her to have to see her child in that state. The doctor was very calm and understanding. She took my weight and said that I was just on the cusp of my weight being dangerously low. She prescribed me some more domperidone and something I'd never taken before, diazepam. She said that I was to take 3 a day, every day, and to come see her in a week. And I did just that. And, oh my goodness, did it help. I found at first that it made me super drowsy and happy, almost like being drunk. So I normally had a nap right after taking them. But that was the thing. The drowsiness relaxed my muscles so much that I didn't have a reason to be so anxious. More than that, it completely chilled out the distressing thoughts and brain screaming. It was at this point that I really realised what was causing my emetophobia, and it was the distressing imagery that my brain was sending me, against my will. Also known as intrusive thoughts. If you haven't heard of intrusive thoughts, it can be a little hard to explain or understand, so I'm going to give my personal explanation of what I was experiencing. You know those little thoughts you get when you're walking down the stairs and you get a split-second mental picture of falling and injuring yourself? It's your brain protecting you, telling you to be careful. For me, this anticipation of danger doesn't stop. It's less like thoughts and more like being forced to watch hundreds of violent and distressing clips or memories that feel like, at that moment, are happening to me. Kind of like that Clockwork Orange scene where he's forced to watch upsetting images, but if he was experiencing them in 4D. The thoughts, depending on the situation, are of me being sick, the people I pass on the street being sick, things that I eat tasting like sick, the smell of sick, sick coming up my throat, etc. They get worse when I eat, and it makes it impossible. If you think it sounds silly, try eating dinner whilst watching videos of people being sick, and see if you're not put off your food. I found that the insane anxiety I was having was being directly triggered by the distressing intrusive thoughts. So because of this, if you stop the images, the anxiety would stop. And that is exactly what the diazepam did. Because the tablet stopped the images, I didn't have anything to get anxious about. And because I didn't have anything to be anxious about, I was able to slowly start eating and drinking again. By the end of the week, when I went back to the doctors, I was doing so much better. I felt so much better. Almost normal. The doctor was pleased with how much of an effect the tablets had had, and she said because they weren't going to be a permanent solution, she recommended trying out antidepressants, or SSRIs, or medication. It was a bit of a buzzword for me. Ever since going through the hell of being on the contraceptive pill, I'd sworn off ever putting anything like that in my body again. I'd heard of people having terrible side effects on medication, including the big one, nausea. Anything that was going to actually cause nausea, especially after the pill had caused that, was a massive no-no. I was already in a bad place. I didn't want something to make me worse. However, if it was going to have the same effect that the diazepam was having, I might have been tempted. On top of this, I had 2 cousins that were already taking the medication, and they absolutely loved the effect it had, and had become so much more mentally stable because of it. I decided I would try it, and the doctor prescribed me citalopram. Everyone had different experiences with medication, in general. Some great, and some terrible. It just depended on the person, and I would never know what effect it would have unless I gave it a try. To ensure that I didn't have a repeat of the pill experience, I also started a medication diary so that I could monitor any side effects and make sure that I knew when it was me or the medication. The first day I was due to start taking them, I was very nervous. Very, very nervous. I was so worried about possible nausea and it being as bad as a pill. I procrastinated for hours. In the end, I had some food, took the first pill, and went straight into a nap to try and combat the anxiety I had over it. For the rest of the day, I was amazed to see that apart from noticeably louder thoughts, I had no side effects. I did have a little nausea in the evening, but it was really low level and only lasted half an hour. It was not even close to what I had experienced on the pill and was so completely manageable. And that was it. That was the only nausea I got. Miracle. Would you look at that? We ended on a good note. Halleloo. Check out the next episode where I talk about what it was like being on the medication.